presence of Right Honorable Jones. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hello. Good
Hello,
afternoon
sir.
to you all.
Good afternoon.
Good
How are you
afternoon,
doing?
Honorable.
I want to use this opportunity to thank the leadership of the House for inviting me to speak on this day. I'm very sure some of you do not know me or haven't heard of Youth Impact Parliament or the Student Speakers Association. Very sure of that. All the speakers here do know of that, and I'm sure it was on that basis that they decided to contact me to come and contribute. The incumbent Speaker of the House, Right Honorable Ajisa, and your two manly able deputy speakers, thank you very much for your consideration. Before I even acknowledge the other speakers who spoke before I'm giving this opportunity, for the records, we don't have anything like Right Honorable retired. Once a speaker, always a speaker. He still holds the title. That is why up to now, Right Honorable Justice Bamford Addo, Right Honorable Dua Jaho, and Right Honorable Professor Aaron Michael Kwe are still Right Honorables. Unlike the General Assemblies of these churches, after you serve your tenure as a moderator, you become the very honorable. Yeah, I think it's something like that. Right honorable, then you become the very honorable, something like that. Yes, but over here, it's just right honorable. Once a speaker, always a speaker. Yeah, so let's take note of that. Right honorable Enoch Pobi, and then right honorable Sunday. Is it Sunday or Sunday? As well, former speakers of this house. They all made very brilliant presentations on this same topic. And I think the seminar has been going on for about, the lecture has been going on for about, if I'm right, almost getting to 2 hours. So members should be really tired as of now. Yes. Almost getting to 2 hours. Yes, 2 hours. So I will try as much as possible to be brief, although I've prepared some slides, but I'll do well to be brief. Majority of the information that are relevant for today's occasion has already been set. Since I've prepared my slides, I'll go ahead and present what I've already prepared. So the occasion is Constitutional Day lecture series organized by leadership and members of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSA Student Parliament House. Kudos to you all. You guys are doing very well. Madam Speaker and all honorable members, I've been following you as well. You are doing very well. Kudos to you all. This occasion has necessitated a debate on the Constitution. I'm very sure all of you have seen the Constitution of Ghana. If no one here has not seen the Constitution of the Republic, I guess you have been a little bit ignorant. Because if you are indeed a political trainee, I think you should know the Constitution. Our Constitution actually has 299 articles and some few chapters, which contains provisions that have been drafted, which are necessary for the governance of our republic, the Republic of Ghana, our homeland. your origin, where you hail from. Tomorrow, even if you go and stay in the United States of America for as long as you wish, you still remain a Ghanaian, and you cannot disassociate yourself from the Republic of Ghana. You can go to heaven and come. You cannot disassociate yourself from the Republic of Ghana. So it's important that we appreciate who we are and where we are from. Why are we celebrating this Constitution Day? So clearly, it marks the 30 years of constitutional governance since 1992. As the 30th anniversary of the 1992 Constitution, and it has been 30 years without the interference of a coup d'etat, a coup. And this day also triggers debate on the review of the 1992 Constitution. I'm very sure, just for the records again, it's important that we know what a constitution is, literally. So a constitution is a rule book for a country, state, county, or whatsoever name it is being put for. It sets out the fundamental principles by which a country is governed. It describes the main institutions of that country, state, county, or whatsoever organization it is being drafted for, and defines the relationship between these institutions as stipulated or provided for in that constitution, their oversights, authorities, and hierarchies. That is basically what a constitution is. The constitution of this honorable house, the constitution of UPSA SRC, the constitution of USAC, NUCS, and the Republic of Ghana, they all set out the fundamental principles of these organizations, clearly state the institutions and the offices, and defines their relationship pertaining to their authority, power, hierarchy, jurisdiction, and oversights. Talking about check and balances and the rule of law, they are all embedded in a constitution, of which you all know. So let's talk about the history of Ghana's constitution, as per my research and making reference to this particular book, How Parliament Works in Ghana, by Dr. Harrison Kofi Belly, which was published in 2019. We had the 1925 Gettysburg Constitution, the 1945 Burns Constitution, the 1950 Constitution, the 1954 Transitional Constitution, the 1957 Independence Constitution, the 1969 Second Republican Constitution, the 1979 Third Republican Constitution, the 1979 Third Republican Constitution, and the incumbent Constitution, which is the 1992 Fourth Republican Constitution. So it'd be of the question, why all these numerous constitutions? Because it will baffle you that a small nation as this, and we have already have counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 constitutions. Why do we need to have this number of constitutions as backbones to the incumbent constitution? Yes, these are the factors that lead to new constitutions. Anytime there is a coup, basically an entire republic has been overthrown. Therefore, the constitution ought to be revised. That necessitates for a new constitution to be drafted and promulgated. Anytime a country gains independence from its colonial masters, it ought to draft a new constitution, which would prescribe a different foundational principles and institutions that will be in accordance to the wishes of the fathers of that independence. Anytime the country wishes to change its governance system, a new constitution ought to be drafted. You see, the governance systems, I will touch on it in the next slides, but the structures in each of them differ to the extent that an amendment of the existing constitution would be inadequate to properly make that constitution provide in full adequacy the governance institutions it needs to function, and other reasons of which I'm sure my colleagues here do know. So let me immediately talk about the types of governance systems. I think I have it as one of my slides. Okay, here is it. Let me just deal with it. The tried governance systems. As a matter of fact, our republic has tried the two main governance systems. The initial governance system, which is the traditional governance system, and then coming up with the hybrid one, with the incumbent constitution that we have. So the traditional governance system is basically the governance system of which we had our chiefs who were in charge. The chiefs were the president, the chiefs and his council were the legislature, the chief and his council were the judiciary, the chief and his council were the electoral commission, were the strash, and all necessary governance systems. That is the traditional governance system. And before our colonial masters came, that was the governance system that Gold Coast was practicing, the then called Ghana. So it is not a new system. That particular system actually had absolute power. It is a little bit equivalent to the absolute monarchy that is being seen in countries like Brunei and Qatar and then all those. It is the modernized one that are over there. But that is basically a traditional governance system. It is, as I said, equivalent to an absolute monarchy. The parliamentary governance system, as prescribed by some of our former constitutions, are basically a system of which the head of state is different from the head of government. Constitutional monarchy easily aligns with the parliamentary governance system because the head of state could be a monarch or a president. And then the head of government will be the prime minister, who is elected by his peers as a result of his party gaining majority of seats in parliament. And in the parliamentary governance system, parliament is supreme. But the presidential governance system, the constitution is supreme. In the parliamentary governance system, at most times, because you wouldn't want the constitution to cause strain, they don't usually have written constitutions in order for parliamentary governance to be really effective. Because if parliament is supreme, the precedents that parliament lays after debating and reaching resolution on matters discussed becomes the law. But when there is a constitution, it basically hinders this system. That is why up to now in UK, the United Kingdom, they don't have a written constitution like how we have, that you can just speak, and then make reference to. They have bylaws that they have passed, legislative instruments, constitutional instruments, resolutions, rulings of the speaker, motions moved, and all other memorandums, and then all those. Those are what comes around. So you'll be amazed that even for a monarch to, parliament has to pass an abdication act with reference to the parliamentary governance system. Yes, for every important, significant occurrence that will happen within the country, an act ought to be passed to guide that so that it would not happen out of scope or as projected by the rulers of that country. So that is it for the parliamentary governance. And most of the times, wherever you see a prime minister, it is basically the parliamentary governance that they are doing. Trinidad and Tobago, even if you go to Uganda, they have a prime minister, and then all those countries that you can make reference to. The prime minister is most relevant when there is a parliamentary governance system, because the prime minister is the head of government, as I stated, acting on behalf of the head of state. The head of state is basically a ceremonial position. Now, the presidential governance system, most of the times originating from the United States of America. That is where the president is the head of state and head of government, and where separation of powers is very clear. Unlike the parliamentary system, of which ministers of state are chosen and appointed from and within parliament, in the presidential governance system, the parliament ministers of state are not MPs, for the records. Before I continue, allow me to. The computer that I'm using has just on its own shut down. That's quite not nice, but I've prepared and I have a backup computer here, so we'll just use it. Okay, very good. Can you all see the screen? Guys, you can all see the screen. So in continuing, in the presidential system, there is clear separation of powers. And this same system is being practiced even in the Republic of Kenya, where there are secretaries of state, cabinet secretaries, as they so refer, which is equivalent to a minister, do not come from parliament. So over there, it is very easy for parliament to play oversight role because the ministers are not coming from there. In UK, their system, the president is the head of state and head of government, and the vice president supports, elected along with him. But the vice president is the president of the Senate, is the president of their Senate. They have a bicameral legislature. And then if you go to Kenya, they have a president and a vice president elected. Because they are practicing a correct presidential governance system, they don't have a prime minister, as I earlier on stated clearly. And then their cabinet secretaries do not come from parliament. So they have around 20 cabinet secretaries, inclusive of the attorney general. Yes. So their MPs, they also have a bicameral legislature, the Parliament of Kenya, with a Senate headed by a Speaker for about, if I'm sure, I forgot the number of senators, and then the National Assembly, which is the lower house. So the executive authority is clearly separated from the legislative authority. But in the parliamentary system, there is a fusion of power. And members could argue, when I get to the Constitutional Review Commission, I'll give you some of the things that they stated. Let's get back to where exactly we left. So I was making references to the presidential governance. Okay, so I made it clear the system at UK, and I was talking about USA before I ended up at Kenya. So let me just take you from the presidential governance system. So with respect to the presidential governance system, let me just make them clear, then I'll go straight to the hybrid. As I said, the parliamentary governance system is most relevant when there are two authorities handling the function of the head of state and head of government, where the head of state is clearly ceremonial and the head of government is functional, where the head of state performs ceremonial functions and the head of government performs the real executive function. So as it may be in the case of the United Kingdom, you may know very well that the monarch, which is King Charles, is the head of state, and then Risky the Prime Minister. Is that the name at all? Yes, it is the Prime Minister who is the head of government. So in this system, the head of government becomes the leader of the party, the majority seats, becomes the Prime Minister who is the head of government and appoints ministers from MPs. But in the presidential system, the president is the head of state and head of government and does not appoint ministers from parliament so that separation of powers can be visible. In the presidential system, there is fusion of powers. So now going straight, you can see that in the case of Kenya, they are practicing the presidential governance a little more than us, because for them, they have cabinet secretaries, which is equivalent to a minister of state. And their cabinet secretaries cannot come from members of parliament. If a member of parliament is being appointed as a cabinet secretary, he automatically loses his seat as prescribed by their constitution. And making it clear, over there, they have 20 cabinet secretaries to assist the president and the vice president. But in the case of the United States of America, the vice president is the president of their Senate. They equally have a bicameral legislature, Senate and House of Representatives. But in Kenya, they have a speaker for both houses. But their lower chamber is being called the National Assembly. So that is it clearly between the two systems, of which I'm sure majority of you know. Now going to the hybrid governance system. The hybrid governance system is a combination of the traditional governance, parliamentary and presidential. Moving on to the next slides, you see clearly what we are talking about here. Now, I'll make it clear features of both three systems being used in drafting the 1992 Constitution. So as per the point here, we have an elected president and an elected vice president who was his running mate in the election, of which the president is the head of state and head of government. So as I already stated clearly, the head of state is a ceremonial function, but head of government is real executive. But in our case, because the president is most of the times very busy traveling up and down, delivering address all, it is the vice president that plays the real executive function, which comparatively in other systems is being played by the prime minister. So you see, as you know, the vice president of our republic is the head of our economic management team. Well, it's one function. You know, the real executive function is talking about administrating the country. And that exactly boils down to talking about economic functionality, whether things are going on well. The chief of staff as well assists the president and vice in the performance of the real executive function, talking about managing ministers, ensuring that government machineries are up to task. You get it? So that is it. Now we have an elected parliament with a speaker. And I wrote 200 to 275 for the record that our first parliament that was inaugurated on the 7th of January 1992, 7th of January 1992, was done at Accra International Conference Center, of which Right Honorable Justice Daniel Francis Annan was elected as speaker. And as of then, we had 200 seats. So it was around the third parliament of which we had Right Honorable Ebenezer Begina Sechi Hughes, of which the seats increased to 230. And then along the line, after some few governments, it increased to 275. This is a feature of all of both the presidential and parliamentary system, as you may know. But clearly, if you go to our constitution, it states clear in one of the articles under the executive that the president shall appoint 50% of ministers and deputy ministers of state from members of parliament, of which you know that is a clear feature of the parliamentary system of governance. That is a clear feature of the parliamentary system of governance. Because in the presidential, the ministers of state don't come from parliament. But we don't have a prime minister. So I hope you are seeing the fusion. Now you ask, where exactly is the feature of the traditional governance? As we stated clearly, in the traditional governance system, We have the chiefs who have absolute power in the legislature, executive, and judiciary. But we have in our constitution the National House of Chiefs and then its regional houses. That is a component of the traditional governance system so as not to eradicate the relevance of our chiefs in our democracy. So, as well, the regional house of chiefs that is formed of paramount chiefs within that region. And then they have their president, and then at national as well. And then the national president of the National House of Chiefs is part of the Council of State. So the Council of State is also a feature of the traditional governance system. You all know very well that we have the elders to the chief. The elders don't exactly have any power. They advise the paramount chief on what to do, or the king on what to do. So the Council of State is basically an advisory body. So that is a clear feature of the traditional governance system. Because if you go to other countries, they don't have Council of State. So it should be clear that the Council of State is a feature of the traditional governance system. And then we have the judiciary appointed by the president, subject to the approval of Parliament. Subject to the approval of Parliament. Now, the independent constitutional bodies, Electoral Commission, STRASH, NCCE, and then the National Media Commission as well. These are some features of the 1992 Republican Constitution and other constitutional bodies of which you may all know. So these are just some features of our current constitution of which we are celebrating today, which is 30 years old. Now, going to, I hope you can all hear me. Very good.
Yes,
Matters arising, fantastic. Matters arising from the 1992 Constitution of our Republic. Some of the matters I have captured might not be all. There are a lot of matters, and I'll talk about a body that was inaugurated to deal with these matters. Some of the matters I've noted, of which I'm very sure some of you equally have that in mind, is the fact that our Constitution has not given a ceiling on the number of judges that can be appointed to our high courts, our courts of appeal and Supreme Courts. Has not given a ceiling on the number of ministers and deputy ministers of state that can be appointed by a sitting president subject to parliamentary approval. Has not given a ceiling on the number of regions that can be created. Has not given a ceiling on the number of constituencies that we can have. Let me cite this example. Are you aware that in the United States of America, there can only be 9 judges of which they serve for a lifetime? The only way a vacancy can be created, they don't retire until they resign, they are removed, or they die. That is only when a slot can be left in their Supreme Court. Number of ministers. In the United States of America, the president can only appoint 15 ministers. Clearly stated he cannot appoint less or more. These are functional ministries that have been there before he came, and he must continue. He can only appoint the political leaders to lead it. If you go to UK, around 20 ministers. The prime minister can only appoint 20 ministers, clearly, and that is what they do. Sometimes they add a little bit, but they don't add so much numbers. When you go to Kenya, he can only appoint 20 ministers. When you go to Nigeria, moving to the regions, in Kenya, they have 47 counties, and I think Nigeria has around 36 states. The numbers cannot be increased, neither can they be reduced, because it is statutory, clearly stated in their constitution. So in order to do it, you need to amend. But we have not even stated the regions that we need to have in our constitution. Constituencies. The Constitution of the Republic, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, clearly states there can only be 360 representatives of their House of Representatives, and there can only be around, I think, 70-something senators, of it is supposed to be 3 senators from each state. So the number, there is a ceiling on the number, cannot be increased today, cannot be increased tomorrow. And it helps. This is a very big matter that our constitution has failed to address, and I think it should be addressed. Majority of ministers coming from parliament. The Constitutional Review Commission, of which I will touch on over here in the next slides. That commission has as well investigated this matter. You see, they make the arguments that when ministers are appointed from parliament, it makes the work easy, because whenever I need the executive to come and answer, they are already there. I'm not sure that is the case when it comes to reality. And then they make the arguments that a minister serving as an MP prior to his appointment has not paid double salaries. Yes, I think they pay them about just 1,000 cedis or 500, around that range, 500 or 1,000 cedis in addition. But don't forget that as a minister, he will get contracts and he'll make more money. At the end, he's serving 2 masters, and because the ministerial one is appointment, he'll give more attention there than parliament, of which he's representing his constituents who elected him. These are matters arising, and a lot more that you guys know, of which I'm sure you would also bring it out in your further discussions. I argue the case that we should have a clear separation of powers, because as a matter of fact, we currently have going to about 100 ministers. I don't think these cases would be made if we had like just 30 ministers. Let's take, for example, there will be no deputy ministers. We only have like 25 sector ministries. If there are ministers with no deputies, adding the 16 regional ministers that we have, it should amount to around 40-something. And we should pay them all. So when you subtract 40 from the 100, don't you think we are even spending more with the hybrid system than this that we have over here? We need to reduce the number of ministries, number of ministers, no deputy ministers, and we give separation of powers. And the issue about the fact that when they are in parliament, I'm sure a minister who is not an MP, anytime he has to come to parliament, he will prioritize, because that is one opportunity for him to show in the public domain. He will surely be there. So I don't see that issue arguing out. And then another issue that is an important matter rising from our current constitution is the fact that the emoluments as captured for Article 71 office holders, inclusive is their ex gratia. It's a matter, because it's more like they are discriminating between public officers. Someone has been serving as a lecturer for about 22 years, and his take-home salary and then even his retirement benefits is nothing comparative to the ex gratia that a political appointee would take in 4 years. Clearly discriminative, as they may state. The issue about Article 71 office holders is a matter that I cannot fully talk about today. But you know what is happening in this country, and you can all attest to the fact that, yes, this is a matter of concern that needs to be addressed. And many more that I have not captured. But I know you all who are intelligent, honorable members of this House do have that in mind. Honorable members, in 2010, His Excellency Professor Evans Fifi Atamus established a 9-member Constitutional Review Commission to review our 1992 Constitution within 2 years. They came out with a 984-page report, of which I have. I've been going through that report. 984-page report. The government responded with a 48-page white paper, making clearly the recommendations the government concurs with and the recommendation the government does not concur with. But my colleagues, there was no implementation or amendments. We can clearly relate that to the fact that the initiator of this ideology passed on. May his soul rest in peace, Prof. But since then, his successors have not been able to implement this. And even 2010 is a long time now. If you'd ask me, I'd wish that the same commission, the ones that are not public officers, should be reformed again to review their own work. And then forever, there are loopholes, they capture it, and then an implementation committee be formed to implement it, whether we are going by amendment or not. Those of you who would want to check that report can as well contact me and I'll send it to you. I can as well send it to your leadership. They did a lot of consultations, and at the end, they stated clear their findings, their arguments, their resolutions and recommendations. Unfortunately, the committee, the amendment they made in one of the matters that are arising from the Constitution with respect to appointment of ministers, they only made it clear that they shouldn't state a quota, that it should be 50%, but they should make it open for the president. If he wishes to appoint all from parliament, he should do. If he does not want to appoint none from parliament, he should do. If he wants to appoint one from parliament, he should do. I am of a different opinion that no minister should come from parliament so that they can focus on their duty and do it well without this situation that we have. So the Constitutional Review Commission report is as well here. So if you want it, and the white paper report as well, I'll make them available to you. Student governance. So it is important that we speak on this. May I acknowledge that the previous speakers, Right Honorable Sunday and Enoch, has in-depthly spoken on this. Therefore, I'll be a little bit brief on that. Because if you want to talk about matters arising, we'll not finish today. There are a lot of matters with respect to student governance. The picture here is a state of the SRC address by HTU SRC, Old Technical University SRC. And then, as you can see, they are mimicking the national. Let's proceed to the next slide. What is governance? Honorable members, governance is about regulating policies, making rules, effecting those rules on behavior, and ensuring the livelihood of citizens and posterity for a country, county, organization, SRC, or whatsoever. This is with reference to. Student governance is the same, with just the fact that it is about students participating with less authority, jurisdiction, and emoluments. As you all know, all the SRC presidents and MPs are taking our peanuts if it comes to the Republic of Ghana. So I quite get disturbed hearing issues of corruption coming from student governance. A little project, then they want to consume as much as 10,000 Ghana cedis. And you end up destroying yourself when your followers come with removal and then all those. Are you aware that the Republic of Ghana can spend as much as that money on just consultation for a project to be held? That money is peanuts. So when you are destroying your reputation because of peanuts, instead of using the student governance to train yourself to assume public authority in the future, oh my God, very, very questionable. These monies that are in the SRCs and in all those are peanuts, and we should not be destroying ourselves because of these peanuts. They are chicken things. Don't you guys agree with me that the monies that we take at SRC are peanuts? It's just there to encourage us to serve. But you shouldn't use that opportunity to try and amass wealth, because there is nothing there. The Republic of Ghana handles billions, and the SRCs handles just 1 million, and you want to mess up yourself. Why wouldn't you just do a genuine project, let your people see, and whatever is due, you take it, and then you move on. And then that can be used as credit to you in recommending you for a public office. But if in case you don't know, whatever you do at the student governance chases you wherever you go. When I served as president of Promax HTU, which is the marketing department, whatever I did, I accounted to my people and stated clearly the monies that I used. Because I knew I didn't do anything, but I had no problem accounting to my people. But when our student governance, our student leaders do something bad, they'll be scared of accountability. Yet still,
We keep on arguing that we are the future leaders, but we are messing up with the little opportunity being given to us. Do you think that if you are being given a little budget to build just a hut, a kiosk will just build kiosk, just small kiosk. You have split the money into two, keep the half, and then you went for some cardboard, and then you did something like that. After the first round, the thing is already gone back. Who is going to get a contractor, or who is going to give you a mansion to build if you couldn't even build a kiosk very well? Honorable members, this is a question to all student leaders. If you cannot handle student governance very well, who is going to give you an entire republic of 30 million people to handle? Very questionable. I'm not getting bitter, I don't mind me, okay? I'm not getting personal with this. But I just need to resound the matters that are rising from student governance. Let's move on. The theme of today's program, promoting parliamentary democracy and student governance, enhancing parliamentary practices on UPSA Campus. In commemorating the Constitutional Day, it's important that we reflect on who we are, students of UPSA. It's important that we promote parliamentary democracy and we enhance our parliamentary practices on our campus. Because the other speakers have spoke on some important stuff, I'll just go straight with my slides so as not to repeat the facts again. So, just as I asked, I even drafted some questions. Our students, honor members, let's discuss this, let's have this interaction. You can unmute yourselves and let's answer these questions. Question 1, are student leaders governing well? Honor members, question 1, are student leaders governing well? Or you can't answer?
I think.
Okay. Yes, I think to make it easy, let me just, in order to make it fast, so that no one will come up with a paragraph, I can just put a question to read. If you feel your answer is ayes or nays, you just give that response. So unmute yourself, and then when I ask the question, and if you think they are governing well, you say aye. They're not governing well, you say nay. It's just for public opinion on this question. So I'll just put the question and then I'll ask if you are in favor or you think is yes or nays. So our student leaders governing well, all in favor say aye. Not in favor say nay.
Nay.
Let's move on to the next question. Are they living up to expectations? All in favor say aye. Not in favor say nay.
Nay.
The next question. Are their constitutional provisions sufficient for their governance? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor say nay.
Nay.
Okay, so we are a little bit divided on that. The next question. Are their oversight institutions doing their job well? All in favor say aye. Not in favor say nay.
Nay.
Okay, that's another question. Are the student parliamentarians living up to expectations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor say nay.
Nay.
So as you can see from the discussion, these are questions that we need to ask. And per this public opinion, it is clear that we need to really look at areas. Let's continue. We'll talk about them later on. What is parliamentary democracy? As per what I have been able to draft, parliamentary democracy, in simple, is a system of governance where citizens select their representatives to a legislature to represent their views, make laws on their behalf, take a decision on their behalf, and serve as a check on the executive authority. We are student parliamentarians, class reps, faculty presidents, departmental executives, and then all those committee chairpersons of which we form part of a student legislative arm. Are we representing the views of our constituents? Do you consult your constituents before you come there to take a decision? Do you make laws in their interest? Do you take decisions in the House on their behalf? Yes, but is it in their interest? Are you serving as a check on the executive authority, or you equally have been bribed? These are questions we should ask. When I was president of PROMAX, I was as well a member of the SRC General Assembly. As a matter of fact, I consult my people when we have General Assembly sittings at the department, and I seek for their views. What do they want? If they have issues, they should let me know, so that when I go to the General Assembly of the SRC, I file those things over there, and then they come. How some of you doing that? You only go there, you don't consult your people. You don't hold these consultative meetings, which are supposed to be General Assembly meetings, sittings of the houses of your associations or the people that you represent. You consult them. Go to SRCs, ask one of Martin during the questions and answers, one of the people who spoke, so they just go there, say ayes and nays, and they come back. They are not truly representing the people. Yes, you are sitting down there and you expect your MP to come and consult you. Let me tell you, some of the MPs indeed consult their people. They go to the chiefs, they go and meet the youth groups, they go to the market women, they go and meet some of the public institutions, they go and meet us, the lecturers, and then all those. And they gain their views. So when they go to Parliament, they are fighting for them. If you want to be a better MP than the current MP representing you in the parliaments of Ghana, you should do better at the little place that you're serving at. But you don't. Some of you sincerely, you don't. You only go there for the allowance, as you so claim. You go there for the refreshment. How much is that refreshment that you cannot afford, that you cannot do your job very well? Now, members, let's look at that. Let's really look at that. Moving on. I believe this we already know. Parliament is simply a name, okay? The actual name is legislature, which is a lawmaking body. The actual name is legislature, which is a lawmaking body. I think I should be wrapping up, right? I'm receiving a call. I don't know whether it's from one of you, but it's like it can be an indication of wrapping up. So a legislature is a lawmaking body for a state of which elected personalities or representatives from politically demarcated territories called constituencies come over there and take decisions on their behalf. So we have bicameral legislature, which is 2 chambers, and then we have unicameral legislatures as well. So the picture you are seeing over here is an example of a unicameral legislature, which is the National Assembly of Tanzania with 393 members. And over here is the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the House of Representatives made up of 360 reps, and then there are Senates made up of 109 senators. Yes. And then over here as well, the Parliament of the United Kingdom, their House of Commons, which is made up of 650 commons, and then House of Lords, made up of 762 lords. So what does Parliament do? It is well known that Parliament's basic function is lawmaking. However, a number of functions are incidental in the performance. Financial control, that is why budget comes. Oversight on government, that is why ministers come to answer questions so that they can perform that oversight control. Where the loopholes are, they have been pointed out. Representational forum, as I spoke about, represents your constituents. What do they want and work in their interests? Deliberative functions, where they discuss matters of interest to the nation at committee levels and finalize on them at plenary sessions. Parliamentary procedure, which is one of the variables in our theme for today. Parliamentary procedure is basically an accepted rules, ethics, customs governing sittings of a legislature or organization. Its objective is to allow orderly deliberation upon questions of interest to the organization and thus to arrive at a sense or the will of the majority of members of the legislatures upon the question put. The question they are talking about is the question that the speaker puts. Honourable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is all in favour that the bill be passed, say aye. Not in favour, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Therefore, this bill is accordingly being passed by the House. That is the question they are talking about. So, student parliament houses. This picture was taken during the tenure of the third parliament, as I said, of which the speaker was Right Honourable Ebenezer Begina Sechikius. And that is a picture, beautiful picture over here. I just have some few slides left, okay? We'll just close in about some few minutes. Student parliament houses, of which this house is one of it. Student parliament houses. What are they? I don't think I'll be the best to describe what these student parliament houses are. Those of you who are past might give a better description, but this is my description. They are initiatives under Parliament of Ghana supervised by the Public Affairs Directorate, set up in some tertiary institutions within the country to promote parliamentary democracy and build capacity of students in business and advocacy, in parliamentary business and advocacy. Okay, let me say clearly that you can see that the student parliament houses in these tertiaries do not have an executive authority like how there's a president and a chief justice, because it is basically there to build your capacities and then do advocacies. So most of the times you could see some of the student parliament houses advocating that fees be reduced and then all those. It is as well in line. But your basic focus is to build capacity for your members. So that is why, unlike SRC General Assemblies and then all the faculty and then the departmental ones, they are discussing matters or accepting budgets or any other resolution that the executive will bring for deliberation. But unlike you, you don't have anything as such. So you have that luxury of time to debate matters like what? E-levy and then all those. So that your people from the deliberations, they can learn and become better parliamentarians in promoting parliamentary democracy. Do you do that? I guess so. So I have some questions here, but I will not put the question where you say nays or ayes. I'll just go straight. Are student parliament houses that have already been established, are they active? Are they resourced enough? I think you will say no. Are student parliament houses active? I think we'll give it to the ayes. Are student parliament houses building capacity for their students? It's a question to all of you. How many times do you sit? We'll get there. Are student parliament houses practicing standard parliamentary procedures? That is a question to all of you. Are you practicing standard parliamentary procedures? Because if you are learning the wrong things at the student parliament houses, you go to the S houses and do the same thing. So the student parliament houses should be the originator of standard parliamentary procedures. That is as well in line with what we do at the Student Speakers Caucus, of which we teach them standard parliamentary procedures so that they can come and teach you, and then it will as well, the faculties, general assemblies and departments will pick it and it will extend there. Then the last question, are student parliament houses making the impact? Because if you don't make the impact, if he comes and he's serving as an MP, and at the end of the 1 year, he has not learned anything, you're not making an impact. But this question as well has some dimensions, because some people, no matter what you do, they won't pass. It's the same teacher that teaches you and teaches me. But at the end of the day, I get A, you don't get A. So that exactly cannot be blamed on the teacher. But I think it's a question for all of us to deliberate. I have some recommendations as I wrap up my presentation. Student parliament houses should at least sit twice a month. I don't know whether UPSA student parliament house does that. But if you are not doing it, you should sit twice in a month. Because during your holidays, when you have exams, you cannot sit. So in reconciling the times that you don't have an opportunity to sit, you should try and hold sittings twice in a month.
when you are in school, so that the exam season and the vacation season, you will not have any defects. Unlike we, Youth Impact Parliament, we mandatorily sit once a month. It is not a parliament house or any class. So when students are on vacation or writing exam, it's not a problem for we, because majority of people who are MPs are not even students. So we sit once every month. So in a year, you have that assurance that we sit not less than 12 times. Student parliament houses should have their requisite robes, parliamentary robes, to robe the speaker and his deputies and the clerks, the clerk and deputy clerks. You should have all these robes, because what you are doing there is capacity building. So if you don't have those things, how would there be a full parliament house? If things are missing, if you don't have, please ensure that you gain it. It's very important. Youth Impact Parliament that has just been in session for this some few years, we have the robe of the speaker, the two deputy speakers, and robe for all our clerk and 3 deputies, because that is the way we can make our youth have a feel of what goes on in Parliament House. And I do recommend that student Parliament houses, of which UPSA Student Parliament House inclusive, should ensure that they get mace. As you all know, the mace is the authority of the house. Is that gold-like stand that is usually in front of the table office. You should have your mace. The mace is not supposed to be tall. It should actually be like 4 feet. So if your mace is very tall, I think you have a problem, because as a matter of fact, to be blocking the view of the speaker. Gavels, the speaker should have a gavel. And then I didn't even add this thing here. You should change the sitting arrangements, because we have horseshoe, semicircle, opposing benches, classroom arrangement. Sometimes have some different sitting arrangements, so that your MPs can have a feel of how it is in Parliament House. Because don't forget, we are there for capacity building. Student Parliament houses should have parliamentary committees. I don't know whether you guys have parliamentary committees as it is in Parliament House. But if you don't, I recommend that you have. In Youth Impact Parliament, we have not less than 35 committees. In a section of the Parliamentary Service Board that we have, the Committee of the Whole and the Committee on Selection, we have 16 standing committees and 19 select committees, adding up to 35. And it's important because at the end, members who might not have opportunity to speak on floor would have, if the committees are functioning, they will have that opportunity to put their views at the committee level. When Parliament of Ghana is holding its plenary sessions, you know, all the 275 MPs cannot speak at the same time. In fact, if you want to give them 1 minute, to take us not less than almost 11 hours to hear from all the MPs. What about the interventions and the moderation that the speaker will do? So that is why it is important that you that is practicing or imitating the National House of Parliament, you should have these parliamentary committees, so that at the sitting that you hold, that might even last for just 3 hours. MPs that might not have an opportunity to speak, of which we know not everyone will speak, would have an opportunity to contribute at the parliament, at the committee level. So please, if you don't have, you can ask all contact me. We'll have a deliberation on some relevant committees that you think would be nice and you have. I'm of the view that student parliament houses should stream their sittings or record their sittings to build confidence of members. You see, the only way you see your MP speaking in Parliament House is because of the fact that Parliament of Ghana streams. They stream that, number one, for your constituents to see you that you are doing something, to see that Parliament is indeed working, to know what is going on, for people to know the affairs of their country. And another, it also builds the confidence of members. So if you are streaming your sittings or you record them and put on your page, members who have fear of camera would have been able to overcome it before they go elsewhere. That is how they can get some SPH that they cannot get in the classroom. SRC and others might not want to stream their sittings. But if you do it, they will have the opportunity to build their confidence over there and their delivery skills. So let's look at that. If you are not doing it, ensure that you do.
in Youth Impact Parliament, we record all our sittings, and immediately we are done after sitting, we edit the video and we upload it on our Facebook page and YouTube page. There have been no sitting that we have failed to record. And it's very important because from there, we are saying we are building capacity. What is the evidence that we are building capacity? You can see them there. And some of our youth MPs can also cut portions that they made submissions on over there and then share it for other people to see that, yes, they are going through some training. So it is very important that I emphasize that if UPSA Student Parliament House is not doing this, Madam Speaker, ensure that it's being done the next time you sit. Student Parliament Houses should ensure that members are awarded with certificates. That is one evidence that indeed they have gone through the training during your parliament. I am very sure you do this, but I'm just putting it for the records. Ensure that your MPs get certificates at the end of the day. Honourable members, coming to my last slide, parliamentary practices on campus. We are to enhance parliamentary practices on campus. As I stated, if this student parliament house does its things very well, the speakers and members of the departmental general assemblies, faculty general assemblies, JCR general assemblies, and the SRC would learn from what you are doing. One way of ensuring that you would affect other houses is to do the thing and do it well and very colorful. When they see what you are doing, they'll go and learn it over there. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you that USAG and then all those, some of the SRCs, they don't even know what they are doing. It is when they go for USAG Senate sittings or NUC's Central Committee meetings that they see what is done over there, that they bring to what they are doing. So that is always a source. And if the speaker and members are not even exposed enough that they can learn these practices from just watching proceedings of Parliament of Ghana, you come and be doing something else, which is unparliamentary. There are a lot of unparliamentary behaviors. Speaking on top of your voice, being disrespectful to the speaker, not giving decorum to the house, and then not observing the rules of the house. Some of them are unparliamentary. Let me even take note that what. As I said, some of the equipments that you need, the ropes and then all those, when they are not there, then they are not able to have that full feel of a standard parliamentary process. So it's important. And what I wrote over here is let's ensure that all student legislative chambers on campus are practicing standard procedures by putting all leaders of these chambers on one WhatsApp page and giving them the exposure. Just as I initiated on 1st March 2020 of bringing all speakers of SRCs and student parliament houses on one page so that we build their capacity to ensure that there is standard parliamentary practices. I think UPSA student parliament house can equally do the same. We put all the departmental SRC and faculty speakers on one page and build their capacities. And now I think WhatsApp groups can even take as much as 1,000 people. Add all MPs of these general assemblies on campus to one page and you build their capacities and exchange ideas. That is how you can extend your arms to them. So if you have not done this, I put it on your table to consider. And let's ensure that student leaders are account to their student legislatures in order to train themselves for national offices. Let me still reiterate that what we take at the SRCs are peanuts. They are nothing comparable to what you take if you become a public official or a government appointee. So if you cannot account for the little money that you take at just the small place that you occupy, no one is going to recommend you to occupy a national office. I don't need to say this because whatever we do is chasing after us. That is what some people don't know. Issues about money are very delicate. So when you come around messing up, it's just peanuts, spoiling your entire life, you miss up greater opportunities that are even more juicy than this. More juicy than this. So honorable members, right honorable speaker, honorable deputy speakers, former speakers of this house, members of this house, members of the SRC, students of UPSA, and ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to serve as
your special guest of honor for this occasion, and this is my view on the subject matter. Thank you very much. I'm Jones Amekashiglu, Speaker of Youth Impact Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. That was a great submission. It was